Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's GrowthSM talk. Today with us, we have Saagar Gupta, a customer success manager. Welcome, Saagar.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, Saagar, briefly describe to me your current roles and responsibilities as a customer success manager.
Yeah, as a customer success manager, what you'll need to do is support your team's clients. So everything from onboarding to finding additional use cases and value from the products and services that you provide to your renewal. Your ultimate job for your company is making sure that you're able to keep the customer engaged for possibly a month, a quarter, a year, and keep them getting value and renewing over time.
Is there what would you say out of those different elements is the most critical part of the customer success manager's role?
I personally believe it's the onboarding. If a customer is successfully onboarded onto your, again, product or service, depending on what type of customer you represent in your role in their life cycle, that onboarding plays a huge role in their next 3 months, next 6 months, and ultimately that next year. Because if they have a successful onboarding, to me, that actually makes for the easiest renewal at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And how often do you have to be in contact with your customers? What's a good amount of communication between yourself and your customers?
I would say when you're just starting off every week, after the first month or 2 months, when your customer finds you more of an advisor, you are successful with those first few use cases that they bought the product for, then you can kind of go into bi-weekly, if not monthly. As a customer success manager, my role is to make sure that customer is happy. And that's kind of really how to phrase it. Are they happy with what you provide? You don't have to necessarily use every part of the software, but as long as they're happy for what they bought the software for, that's what will take that relationship and, again, allow them to continue using the platform moving forward.
Do you constantly talk to a single individual or multiple individuals?
Yeah, it's a good question, because when I just started off in customer success, I would think that one individual, you have a point of contact. But as I grew in my role and got more experience, I realized you really need to speak with multiple individuals, possibly from multiple teams, depending again on what sort of product and service that you are representing. Because the more individuals that use the product and service, the harder it is to replace. In other words, the idea is sticky, right? How sticky is your product within that firm? Again, the more individuals that use it, the more sticky it is.
Yeah, definitely. I think stickiness is one of the crucial elements of continuing a relationship with a client. Do CSMs
Yeah.
have to be technical?
Yeah, it again depends on what a client is using or wanting to use you as a resource and how much of a resource you want to be. Some CSMs take the route of being more of a renewal manager where they're just making sure the contracts, logistics, and they work with technical individuals. I personally think that the more technical a customer success manager is, the more valuable they are internally because they're able to answer questions faster. They don't need to bring somebody else in. Um, they are able to help you bring some things to life and don't require resources from your end as well as internally. I think in previous experiences, I tended to be a bit or try to get as much technical as possible with some limitations, just understanding certain languages, certain backend technologies, and so on. However, as I kind of move forward and you start managing more and more clients and you're joining bigger companies, they actually have technical resources to assist you. So personally, to summarize, I think it's really beneficial to be as technical as you can be. However, it's not a necessity. You don't necessarily need to learn how to code or anything like that. Again, it does depend on the software that you represent.
Yeah, and sometimes the technicality isn't necessarily a coding language. It's how does that person initiate the technology that you're providing as well?
Exactly. Initiate, integrate, onboard onto the technology as well as use it. Sometimes the technical portion is only the first part of the relationship, and the rest of it is providing value and building out use cases. I would actually push the fact that adoption is almost more important than being technical. Even if you set things up, are people actually using it? A good example is a CRM, right? If you set up, say, Salesforce, are people actually using it? That's a whole nother, question and answer at your company.
Yeah, so customer adoption is key.
Exactly.
So there's different titles dotted around the sales scape or the customer success scape. Um,
Hmm.
what's the difference between a customer success manager, CSM, or an account manager, an
Hmm.
AM?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question because it varies amongst a organization. Some organizations consider them the same thing. Actually, account management merged into customer success as we've gotten more into the SaaS space, and Salesforce drove the words customer success from the ground up. However, as people move forward, the difference starts being an account manager is really focusing on the commercials, and the customer success manager is really focused on the value.
Yeah,
And that's where I
definitely.
see that big difference. The customer adoption is more the customer success manager's job, and the more commercials, the contract, sometimes even the renewal is on the account manager.
So does a CSM have a formal sales closing cycle?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the way I like to think of it is a customer journey. So each stage of a customer life cycle, if we're looking at just the sales cycle, there's two parts. One is a customer may need to be or wanting to buy more products and services from your organization, or they want to be renewing. In both situations, that's where you have a separate cycle and you'd create or manage essentially an opportunity, as Salesforce calls it, or as other people call different leads and prospects, because you may be working with one team, but another team wants to use you as well.
Yeah. Um, as you work with customers and maybe customers, someone who will be eventually a customer to another technology may watch this video, what can a customer do to prepare or set themselves up for success with a customer success manager?
Yeah, I would say a lot of times the customer success manager would ask the customer to come prepared to a meeting. And again, as I got more experienced, I would ask the customer saying, I need A, B, and C from you, and make it as easy as possible for that customer to come to that meeting prepared, because you have limited time with that customer success manager. They're not necessarily part of your team, but they want to be, right? They want to assist you as much as possible in the short time they do have with you. So if you have the data, you have the questions answered, and you understand your own business and operations and how this fits into the tool that the customer success manager is representing, that is the best way to come prepared for this conversation. Again, just making sure that you have the requirements, almost suggested requirements that a customer success manager has to you. And most should give you what they need from you before a meeting even occurs or it's even scheduled.
Yeah. So just being prepared to maybe answer some questions in preparation for the customer success meeting.
Exactly. And the more context you give them beforehand, the more the customer success manager can understand who to ask even before that meeting occurs. So if you have highly technical questions, I definitely recommend giving them the questions in advance.
So that kind of leads into our final question. What advice would you give to an aspiring customer success manager?
Yeah, I would say what I've learned as customer success managers is relatively new to the space, and it's becoming one of the most increasing roles and prominent roles in technology. We're actually seeing customer success managers. I think it was the number 5 needed role earlier this year when they did a survey of like the most needed roles, and they looked at the data behind it. I'd say it's really understanding the product and understanding who uses it and how can they use it to their most um, to their fullest potential, and how can you get a customer from not using it at all and not knowing much about it to getting them to be a case study. The most relevant customer is the goal, and it goes from anything from, say, helping your parents use Uber to helping someone use Salesforce for the first time, right? If you're able to help them download an app, teach them how to use it, and they keep using it over time, that's exactly what you're going to be needing to do at a much larger scale, like say you're implementing Salesforce for a customer. Understand Salesforce, you know all the different ways they can use it, and help them get that from that 0 to 1, as I'd call it. So again, look at your daily basis, see what tools you absolutely love to use. And those are the companies I actually recommend reaching out to first as well.
Yeah, and knowing you, you can get quite creative in how you propose a client increase adoption of a product or come up with new ideas and stories and narratives, which then allows your role to be much more creative, not just for you, but other team members too.
Exactly. Like I like to gamify some of the onboardings, right? Who can accomplish this task first if you're working with multiple teams? You can go ahead and say, "Yay, if you are able to accomplish this, we'll send you a present." These small little things actually go a long way because a client, you may actually just need 45 minutes of your client's time, but remember, you're just a fraction of their day. And that's something that I took to heart, saying, anytime that you have with me, I want to maximize that time. I also want you to make sure that you enjoy that time. It's fun, and you see me as someone that you can trust. So,
yeah, definitely. Well, Saagar, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you everyone for watching GrowthSM Talk. Thank you, Saagar.
thank you so much.
See you later.